Welcome to Beat Diabetes. We're going to do another books and quotes episode, and we're going to continue to look at this book by Jenny Rule called Blood Sugar 101. Blood Sugar 101, What They Don't Tell You About Diabetes. What don't they tell you? Well, I guess it depends on who the they is, but there are a lot of people, nutritionists, some doctors, and some so-called experts who will not tell you that it has to do with overeating carbohydrates. Say it with me, carbohydrates. That includes sugar. Some people say, well, you talk about carbs, but what about sugar? Well, sugar is a carb. Anyway, it has a lot to do with that and the high insulin and the high glucose that they create in your body when you overdo it. Now, we were made to process carbohydrates. It's not like you eat one little scrawny gram of carb and you become a diabetic. We were made to go a lifetime, 80, 90, 100 years processing some carbs, but not at the level that we do today. We are just overdosing on carbs, and that is not a good thing. Jenny Rule is not a doctor. She is not really a nutritionist, although I guess you could call her that because she knows a lot about nutrition, but particularly her field of expertise is why do people become diabetic and what can you do about it? She herself is a type 2 diabetic. She has struggled a lot. I think from reading some of the things I've read about her, she's had diabetes far worse than I ever did. And there was a time where she took some insulin just to try to help get things working for her. And then she was able to get off of insulin. The last I heard, she was not taking insulin. Her book is a great book in my estimation. There are some parts of it, there's a long section about diabetes drugs. I just flipped right through that because I have always felt like I could see victory without taking diabetes meds. And I have, but if you are taking them, you might find that section interesting. Today we're going to look at what she has to say about the tremendous risk to your health, your body, your heart that occurs when you continually maintain high glucose. So let me just share it. This is all found within just 2 or 3 pages in this book, but it is powerful stuff. So one of the things she makes the statement based on her reading, her research, and studies that have come out. She says, it turns out that heart attack risk more than doubles at blood sugar levels considered to be pre-diabetic. In other words, you don't have to wait until the doctor says you have diabetes. When you are in the pre-diabetic level, you're already at much greater risk for a heart attack than you would be otherwise if you were not pre-diabetic. She says it turns out your post-meal blood sugar levels predict the possibility of heart attack much more reliably than do your cholesterol test results. That is quite a statement. So many people, all they want to know is, well, what's your cholesterol? I think you probably got high cholesterol. You're eating putting cream in your bulletproof coffee and butter. I bet your cholesterol is terrible. She says it turns out from the research that the best predictor of whether you've got a heart attack in your future is not your cholesterol. How high do you spike? And she's big. She's, I guess you could say, almost fanatical about blood sugar spikes, as I am. So we're a brother and sister in this area. We think alike. We both feel that blood sugar spikes are a huge deal. Here's another one of her statements. What raises triglycerides? And she answers her question, dietary carbohydrate. What improves the ratio of total cholesterol to HDL? Lowering carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are involved in so many things. And if you want to get healthier, the best thing you can do is lower your carbohydrates because they're doing a number on you. She goes on to make the statement that the A1C accurately predicts heart attack risk. Your A1C. She talks about different factors people can have, such as your age, your body mass index, your waist to hip ratio, your systolic blood pressure, your serum cholesterol, whether you smoke or not. She says, they didn't matter nearly so much, whatever those factors are in your life. She says blood sugar and blood sugar alone predicted whether or not a person was likely to have a heart attack. We focus on everything but blood sugar. We've said, well, when you get old, that's when you get heart attacks. Well, experience tells us there's some truth to that. And we've talked about weight, and we've said, well, if you're overweight, that means you're more likely to get a heart attack. There is some truth in that. And cholesterol, whether you smoke or not, it's not that those factors mean nothing. But what she's saying is the biggest predictor, the thing most important, is how high is your blood sugar, what's your A1C, and what kind of spikes do you get after you eat your meals. The person who can eat a high-carb meal, if they're going to eat that, which they probably shouldn't, but if they do, and it only bumps up to 125, 130, they're in pretty good shape. But you eat a high-carb meal and you jump up to 175, 200, 225, not good at all. And it's an indicator that a heart attack may be in your future. She says that this particular study she's citing found that the risk of heart attack doubled for every 1% rise in your A1C. So, a person with a 5.6 A1C had double the risk of someone with 4.6. But if you jump up to 6.6, you've doubled it again. 7.6, you've doubled it again. Every point you go higher in your A1C is doubling your risk of a heart attack. Heart attacks are so powerfully linked to blood sugar, and that's the thing nobody wants to talk about. We'll talk about everything but blood sugar. We'll say you're not getting enough nutrition. We'll tell you that you're too much overweight. We'll tell you you're just plain old and old people get heart attacks. We'll tell you that your BMI is not at the proper level. We'll say all kinds of things. Or your cholesterol's too high, so you better take a bunch of statins. We'll say everything except the one thing that matters more than any of those, which is your blood sugar. Your fasting blood sugar is an indicator that you've got problems. You could be headed for a heart attack. Your A1C is a big indicator that you could be headed for a heart attack. More important than how old you are, how big you are, your BMI or anything else, how much nutrition you get. And your blood sugar spikes are an incredibly important foreteller of whether a heart attack or a stroke is in your future. Every point your A1C goes up, you got problems. If you've got blood sugar spikes, significant ones, you've got problems. So we don't want to say that. There are a lot of people in the nutrition business that feel like all your problems will be solved if you will just get enough vitamins and minerals and nutrients. And so they will encourage you to take supplement after supplement and eat all kinds of fruit because everybody knows that fruit has all kinds of vitamins and nutrients in it. And their whole focus is on vitamins and nutrients. And if you can just get enough, never mind that you may eat a lot of sugar, never mind that you may be loading yourself down with carbs at every meal. If you can just get enough bananas and get enough vitamin C, all will be well. And of course, that's not true. Imagine this scenario. You walk home from work, let's say, and there is a big, tough, strong bully that gives you a beating every time you walk home from work. He's 6'5", he's about 280 pounds, and it's pure muscle. He's also a cage fighter. He knows karate. He's so much tougher than you are. And every time you walk home, you get a beating. And you've got a well-meaning grandma, and she sees you with all these bruises, and you've got bandages here and there from the beatings that you've endured from this bully. And she says, my son or my grandson, my granddaughter, if you'll just take more vitamin C, your problem will be solved. Or here, have a banana. And when you eat that, have another banana. And when you eat that, have another banana. All that nutrition in those bananas. And then have an apple. And then have a mango. And then have an orange. All that nutrition, that'll fix you up. No, your problem is not a lack of vitamin C or vitamin D or niacin or calcium or any of those things. That's not your real problem. Your problem is that bully. And if you can ever find a way to whip that bully or avoid him, one or the other, you won't have all those bandages and bruises and cuts on you. And a lot of people are like that with their health issues. They think they can solve it by another supplement. I'll take more vitamin C. I'll take more vitamin D. And I take some vitamin supplements, but I know they do not beat diabetes. They don't solve my blood sugar issues. What solves them is to whip the bully. And I whip him by cutting way down on the carbohydrates because diabetes lives on carbs. It gets its energy from the carbs you eat. And no, I don't do away with carbs altogether, but I cut them way down until the diabetes that wants to attack me is so sickly and so weak, I can punch him out in a hurry because he's got no strength left. It's like that bully, 6'5", 280 pounds, pure muscle, but he hasn't eaten in 6 weeks. He's not going to be nearly so tough to beat if he hasn't eaten in a month and a half as he would be if he's just had a nice big meal. So whip the bully, and remember that the biggest issue we face as diabetics and pre-diabetics is high blood sugar. Whatever it takes to get that blood sugar down, and that means passing up on the sugar, passing up on the starches, whatever it takes, you do that. Starve your bully until he no longer has any power over you, and give him a good left and a right, and watch him fall to the ground and then jump for joy. God bless.
Benedict and I would like to invite you to study the Bible with us through our podcast. Join us in our home as we do our morning Bible studies. With a podcast, there's nothing to see. You just listen. And that means you can enjoy our Bible study while you drive in your car, go for a walk, or work out at the gym. Our podcast is called Discover the Word with Den and Ben, and you can find it in most platforms where you get your podcasts. And if you know nothing at all about podcasts and how they work, there's a link in the description that will help get you started.